Greetings, greetings, my dear friends. This is Chax, once again simplifying a new area, a new country in my next episode of Chax Simplifies. Continuing from the last two episodes where we spoke about the Persian Gulf and the Middle East being one of the most complex regions in the world, to going a little deeper and taking a look at the budding rivalry or almost a cold war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. In my last episode, we went deep into Saudi Arabia. This time, let's go a little deeper into Iran. Iran, in the olden days, was known as Persia. It's a large country, the 17th largest in the world, with an area of approximately 1.68 million square kilometers. It's larger than Western Europe. A population of 70 million people, approximately, and thereby becoming the 16th most populous country in the world. The government of Iran is a very curious mix of theocracy and democracy. The people think they elect the government. The theocrats, essentially the Islamic mullahs, feel they run the country. Iran is defined above all by its mountains. The mountains form its borders, define its frontiers, enfold its cities, and create a fortress which is called Iran. To understand Iran, you have to remember two things. One, it's a large country, and second, it's a mountainous country. The last few hundred years, the borders of Iran have remained more or less constant. The mountains to the north and the west are essentially an extension of the Caucasian Mountains. North, the Elburz Mountains run north, going along from the south of the Caspian Sea into Afghanistan and the Hindu Kush. One branch branches off and moves southwards towards Balochistan. The Zagros Mountains run at the west and to the south. To the south is the Persian Gulf, and essentially the only plains that you could see are to the west, beyond the Zagros Mountains into Iraq. In the center of Iran lies a large uninhabitable wasteland. Dasht-e-Kavir, which is a salt desert, considered by many among one of the most miserable places on earth. You can actually break a layer of salt and drown in the mud. The Dasht-e-Lut extends all the way up to Balochistan. The population of Iran, unlike other countries where you would find the population concentrated in the plains, the population here lives in the mountains. They are in a belt that stretches from the Zagros to the Elburz Mountains and running along the western side up to the Persian Gulf. There is a secondary concentration of people to the northeast, centered on the Mashand, bordering Turkmenistan. The rest of the country is largely very lightly inhabited, almost impossible to penetrate because of the salt mud flats. The Zagros Mountains act as a land bridge for southern Asia, the only path into the Persian Gulf from the Caspian Sea in the north. Iran was on the trade route between India and the Mediterranean, and thereby its importance in the bygone era. The mountains enable the national and ethnic groups to remain and retain their characteristics. These groups resist absorption or annihilation. The population of Iran, the 70 million, are concentrated or clustered in three areas. To the northeast, around Mashhad, Turkmenistan, and the northwest and southeast, where you had all the along the Zagros Mountains. The rest of the country is very sparsely populated. Almost 55% Shia, it has a large number of other ethnic groups. The Azeris form about 25% of the population, and the Azeris are also Shia, incidentally. The Persians, the Iranians, actually fear the Azeris wanting to break away and join up with Azerbaijan, and therefore they're always on tenterhooks. The Kurds, Arabs, Baloch, all Sunni are form the other important ethnic groups. All groups are amenable to inducements from outside, and that is one of the biggest fears of Iran. Oil is their most critical resource and the strategic export. Three major oil fields located along the southwest, which is the most important region, and lesser deposits along the Iraqi border in the north and Riyadh. Iran has the third largest oil reserves in the world. It's the world's fourth largest producer of oil, and therefore one would expect Iran to be rich. Sadly, it is not. So why is it not rich? Three reasons. One, the largely mountainous terrain and the population concentrated in the mountains. This leads to an uneconomic cost of development, setting up of industries, building of infrastructure. The absence of inhabitable plains means the costs go up considerably. The Iranian government policies have also played a major role here. Their policies, especially with respect to non-proliferation and human rights, leaves much to be desired. Add to the fact that Iranian oil machinery is largely inefficient. And don't forget sanctions. Sanctions have been imposed on Iran multiple times, commencing 1979 when Jimmy Carter imposed sanctions post the American embassy fiasco. You recollect that's when the Iranian Revolution took place and you had the Shah of Iran being displaced. Oil keeps Iran from sinking even deeper, but oil cannot take Iran out of its misery. So, what does Iran finally want? Iran is a mountainous country. It is looking for inhabitable plains. It's a fortress surrounded by mountains with a huge wasteland in the center. But it needs plains for cultivation, plains to grow. And where are the plains? The north, more mountains, and the Karakum Desert. To the east, Afghanistan and Balochistan. Well, not exciting. To the south, the sea, the Persian Gulf. The only plains are to the west, Iraq, the historical Mesopotamia and Babylon. If Iran could dominate these plains and combine them with its own population, that would lay the seeds for Iranian power. Exactly the raison d'etre for the growth of the Persian Empire, which at its peak stretched all the way up to Greece and Egypt. You'll now realize why Iraq is so important. Iraq is important to Iran because of the plains it affords, because of the cultivation sources it provides. Iraq is important to Saudi Arabia and to the West because it affords a barrier, a sort of barrier between Iran and the rest. Iraq tries to use the Kurds and the Shia militia to creep westwards. Saudi Arabia and the US pumps in money and arms to keep Iran in check. Therefore, did the US make a mistake in toppling Saddam Hussein? I think it did. And the Iran-Iraq war of September 1982 taught two major important lessons. It taught Iraq and the West that Iran cannot be conquered militarily, and it taught Iran that it cannot launch a major offensive to the West. That brings us to the geopolitical imperatives of Iran. Frankly, Iran wants to continue to maintain its borders, safeguard its territory and its people. Nature does it for them for most of it. The mountains ensure the borders are secure. The secret police ensures the people are secure. And of course, it has the other imperative of maintaining the free flow of oil, thereby the importance of Shuttle Arab, which can provide an outlet for the oil which is found in the Iraq borders Iran and the Straits of Hormuz. It controls the various ethnic groups by the use of a brutal secret police and a combination of political accommodation and oppression. The threat is mainly the outside influence, and this outside influence it tries to nip even before it can enter Iran, and therefore Iraq keeps intervening wherever it can, whether it is by launch of Houthis and their drones to attack the Aramco refinery in Saudi Arabia, or it is by destabilizing and trying to blockade or threatening to blockade the Gulf of Hormuz. It has an active nuclear program essentially designed for two things. One, to keep its borders safe. It deters external threats. And second, to enhance its power and prestige, its preeminent status that it perceives for itself in the Islamic world, especially the Shias. It projects a carefully honed image of ideological extremism, and thereby it projects itself to be unpredictable. So what's happening right now? Right now, or in the recent past, you would recollect that the US walked out of the Iran nuclear deal recently, imposed tough economic sanctions. These sanctions are hurting, and they're hurting and biting. Prices have gone up. Fuel prices have gone up as much as 50%, and the government of Iran had perforce to implement such a rise. There are massive protests on. People are on the streets. Internet has been switched off. The rumblings against the Islamic or the Islamist regime are getting louder. Iran is reacting the only way it knows. Raise the temperature of the Gulf, which means the attack on the Aramco, means threatening to blockade the Straits of Hormuz, means crackdown on the dissidents. We are living in very interesting times, my dear friends. As always, I look forward to your comments, to your suggestions. Do like, share, and feel free to get back to me with improvements as you feel. Thank you very much. Have a great day.